When discussing Charlotte Brontë, it is essential to mention her sisters. The Brontë sisters are among the most famous writers in world literature, their works creating a series of monumental masterpieces that have influenced nearly 2 centuries. Charlotte Brontë's Jane Eyre, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, and Bronte's Agnes Grey are internationally renowned, touching readers across different languages and countries. However, in 1848, when the sisters' novels were published, they faced hardships as girls from poor families. Their works were all published under male pseudonyms. Even today, the introduction to Jane Eyre still bears the signature of Corleone Bell, Charlotte Bronte's pseudonym. It wasn't until much later that the sisters approached the publisher and revealed themselves to be the Bell brothers. Jane Eyre, like a mirror, reflects Charlotte's stubborn, indomitable, and tireless life in a tough society. Biography. Charlotte Brontë, one of the most famous English novelists of the 19th century, was born on April 21, 1816, in Thornton, Yorkshire, England. She was the third of 6 children in the Brontë family. Her father, Patrick Brontë, was an Irish Anglican clergyman, and her mother, Maria Branwell Brontë, passed away when Charlotte was only 5 years old. After their mother's death, the Brontë children were raised by their aunt, Elizabeth Branwell, in the small village of Haworth. The Brontë siblings, Charlotte, Emily, and Branwell, and 2 older sisters who died young, were exceptionally creative. They entertained themselves by writing stories and poems set in imaginary worlds. This early practice of storytelling laid the foundation for their later literary success. Charlotte attended several schools, including the Clergy Daughters' School at Cowan Bridge, whose harsh conditions are described in her novel Jane Eyre. After completing her education, she worked as a teacher. Later, to become a governess, she and Emily moved to Brussels, Belgium, where she studied French. Here, she mastered the basics of French and read numerous famous French literary works. For Charlotte, the person who made the deepest impression during her year in Brussels was Mr. Heger, the school's headmaster and teacher. He was not only knowledgeable and extremely intelligent but also had a masculine charm that was very appealing to young women, easily excitable, somewhat rude, but very straightforward and honest. Charlotte had fallen in love with this married man. Later, Charlotte went back to Heger's school and became a full-time English teacher. Heger and his brother-in-law studied English with her twice a week. Heger's advances repeatedly made Charlotte blush and her heart race, but Heger always acted kindly and naturally. Whether Heger was genuinely interested or if it was a lovely misunderstanding caused by cultural differences between England and France, no one could know. Still, Charlotte had fallen deeply in love with Heger. Fortunately or unfortunately, Mr. Heger's only friendly kiss with Charlotte was witnessed by his wife. From that moment on, Charlotte's lessons with Heger were interrupted. No matter the situation, Charlotte always felt Mrs. Heger's hostile stare. What hurt her even more was that Hegel himself suddenly grew annoyed with her. After much inner struggle, Charlotte finally decided to leave Brussels. For the next 2 years, Charlotte wrote countless letters to Mr. Hegel but received only 5 polite replies in the first year. This secret feeling, which Charlotte had no one to confide in, remained a lump in her throat and was hard to process, as it showed in several of her novels. Hegel heavily influenced the creation of Rochester in Jane Eyre, a character with a volatile personality, a short temper, and a similar love for cigars. Meanwhile, the oppressive Mrs. Hegel became the madwoman in the attic. In real life, whether out of caution or disgust, Hegel tore Charlotte's letters into pieces and threw them away. But the madwoman in the attic, Mrs. Hegel, secretly picked up some of the pieces and pieced them back together. Hegel didn't see these letters again until his later years, and then he wanted to tear them up once more. Charlotte had already become famous by then, and the letters had finally been preserved. In the 19th century, women's careers were mostly limited to roles like maids and governesses. However, Charlotte, after returning to her hometown, inspired her sisters to support themselves through writing. The 3 sisters initially self-published a collection of poems, but it did not sell well. They then switched to writing novels. This sparked a creative rivalry. During this time, Emily and Anne's works were accepted by publishers, but Charlotte's were rejected. Charlotte, much more eager for literary success than her sisters, was deeply affected by this setback. But she didn't give up. She started writing Jane Eyre. When she finished, it outperformed her sister's works and even caught Queen Victoria's attention. From that point, Charlotte entered the cultural scene, publishing more works based on her own experiences, but none had the same impact as Jane Eyre. Charlotte's writing success couldn't shield her from life's misfortunes. A year after publishing Jane Eyre, her brother died of tuberculosis. Emily caught a cold in the rain at the funeral, and a few months later, the legendary author of Wuthering passed away. Even more tragically, 3 months later, Anne Boleyn, author of Agnes Grey, died of consumption. Alone, Charlotte wrote biographies of her sisters, revealing the true identity of the so-called Bell brothers to the public. In 1854, Charlotte married Arthur Bell Nichols. Tragically, she died during her pregnancy from complications or tuberculosis, less than a year later, on March 31, 1855, at the age of 38. Her father, however, outlived all 6 of his children. Charlotte Bronte's life and works continue to inspire readers across the world. Through novels like Jane Eyre, she challenged societal norms and voiced women's struggles and victories. Her story reminds us of the power of creativity, resilience, and staying true to oneself. Whether through her vivid characters or her remarkable journey, Charlotte Brontë remains a literary icon whose legacy endures. Charlotte Brontë is a notable figure among 19th-century critical realist novelists. She strongly opposed immoral literature and art, sticking to a realistic style of writing. The main theme in her novels is women's intense desire for independence and autonomy. This theme appears consistently in all her works, and making women's voices the central focus was groundbreaking in English literary history. Her novels are praised for their emotional depth, vivid characters, and exploration of social issues. They continue to resonate with readers today. Jane Eyre is the story of an orphaned girl who grows up to become a governess. The book explores themes of morality, love, and personal growth. Jane's strong sense of self and determination to follow her path made her a groundbreaking character in literature. Jane Eyre remains one of the most beloved novels of all time. Shirley, set during the Industrial Depression in England, is a novel that follows the lives of 2 women, Shirley Keeldar and Caroline Helstone, as they navigate love and societal expectations. Villette is a semi-autobiographical novel about Lucy Snow, a young Englishwoman who moves to the fictional town of Villette to work as a teacher. The novel explores themes of isolation, unrequited love, and resilience.